Hello and welcome back to the Oxventure D&D podcast. It's a podcast where we talk about episodes of Oxventure and listen to them. And this week, in fact, something slightly different. We are getting ready for Deadlands Season 2. Hi, Andy.
Hi there. Hi, Jane. Hi. Yeah, this week it's not that. It's something else. It's us previewing Season 2 of Oxventure Presents Deadlands, which is coming up very soon, launching on the 21st of March.
That's right. And we're also back from hiatus, an extended hiatus. Do you feel good about that, Andy? You feel rested?
Do I feel good about having a hiatus?
Yeah.
No, I feel like I'm letting down our loyal listeners.
Oh, okay.
They tune in every week to hear our adventures, and they haven't heard anything for a while. So I'm glad to be back.
It's been a while. I'm sorry, but we spent our hiatus wisely. We played
making more.
We played a bunch of Deadlands, and soon it's coming to YouTube, and it's coming to this Oxventure podcast. And for the first time, it'll be rolling out simultaneously, automatically on both formats. Correct?
That's right. You'll be up to date regardless of the format in which you enjoy Oxventure Deadlands. So that's good.
By the way, hi, I'm Jane Douglas, if that wasn't apparent, and he's Andy Farron.
I'm Andy, hi.
It's been a while. I feel like maybe we need to reintroduce ourselves.
That's true. People's memories are short in this ever-changing media landscape. They've probably moved on to more popular content creators.
No, don't.
Like, I can't name a single one.
That's how out of the zeitgeist you are. We took our eyes off the prize. We took our eyes off the ball and other
That's it. They were all waiting
metaphors.
to swoop.
Okay.
And swoop they did.
So reintroduce yourself. What's your whole deal? In fact, let's do chit chat. How have you been?
Oh, okay. Chit chat. Yes.
Chit chat.
I've been good. What have I been doing? Loads of stuff.
What have you been doing?
Well, mostly writing season 2 of Oxventure Deadlands. It's a lot of work. DMing.
I was going to say you make it seem like a lot of work, but I didn't mean it like that. What I mean to say is that
make it seem like it's so hard, Andy.
What I mean to say is that I can tell you've put your all into it. You know, this is a full commitment, full send from Andy on this season of Deadlands.
I don't think like DMing is necessarily hard or like challenging if you sort of enjoy playing the games that you play, but if you want to have like cool, exciting scenarios, you do have to sort of sit down and think them up and write them. And it's essentially a season of Deadlands is like writing 5 short stories and then a sort of larger like container narrative as well, to tie everything together. So it's quite a lot of bits going on, quite a lot of writing, but you know, I think it came out pretty well, as hopefully people will agree when they see it, when it comes out soon.
When did we play Deadlands Season 1? Do you remember? Can you put a season on it? A season and a year?
Wasn't it like summer 2023?
That sounds right. Yeah. So it's been a little while.
I want to say.
We've been away for a while. We're a lot like Severance in terms of
like
quality
Severance.
And prestige, but also in terms of having been away for a while and now coming back all guns blazing.
Though Adam Scott did turn down the role of Silas Flint, unfortunately, so we had to give it to Mike. But he was our first choice.
Okay, well, he was busy. He's a busy man.
Yeah.
And
such good hair.
Such good hair. What have you been doing otherwise, though? Anything good? Like just over the last few days? Anything fun?
It's mostly playing Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii, the new Like a Dragon game, which I've been playing to the sort of exclusion of everything else. It's really good. I got to a bit last night where it just sort of turns into a live action dating show for about a solid half hour. So, you know.
So there's that. Who are you dating?
It's so you set up like one of your crew members. You have to go and like find these women for him to date, and then it's sort of him having a party for all of them in this hotel, and he's sort of trying to woo them, and it's goes live action for a solid half hour.
Live action. What, with like live actors? With
like actors and
Whoa.
You know, properly filmed, and you don't really you don't have much input, to be honest. You just sort of sit there and watch it.
So there's just a half hour section where you're watching a dating show.
You're watching a dating show, yeah.
Weird.
And you know, you don't see that often in a video game, do you? Most video games
hardly ever at all.
Wouldn't dare.
No, the audacity of it.
I think it's the first game ever that lets you equip 10 rings.
We were talking about this, and I think that is a technological breakthrough. Finally, the technology has caught up to the storytelling, and now you can have 10 equipped rings that aren't just stats. I imagine that there's some kind of
they
like
have
really...
stats. Sure.
No. It's not just stats though. I imagine there's some like super like crunchy RPG out there where you can equip 10 like fantasy rings. But in this, they model all 10 rings, including your thumb rings on every.
Absolutely, and you can't just wear any ring on any finger. Some are pinky only, some are thumb rings. You can't wear a thumb ring on your finger.
Of course not.
So for ages, I had 9 rings because I'd only found one thumb ring, and you can't believe how much that bothered me.
And he's been on a quest for a second thumb ring.
I had to go and look up a guide and say, where can I find another thumb ring? And they were like, oh, you get one if you win the batting challenge in Madlantis. So I was like,
okay,
great, I'm going to spend the next hour playing the batting challenge in Madlantis just so I can get an additional thumb ring.
That game's only just come out, so I'm glad to hear the guides are on top of it. You know, where can I find my second thumb ring, please?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
So I've been doing a lot of that. What else has been going on?
What else has been going on?
Yeah. What have you been up to?
What have I been up to? Okay, I feel like... I watched The Gorge. Have you heard of The Gorge?
No.
It's a movie, I believe it was on Apple, and it's Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy. Anya Taylor-Joy, that's the name. And they're sort of snipers who live on opposite watchtowers on either side of an enormous gorge, and the gorge has monsters in it. And it's
are they there to shoot the monsters?
Well, they're there to shoot the monsters if the need arises.
Oh, so. Does Miles Teller like scratch "Do you fancy me" onto a bullet and then fire it into her tower?
Do you know what? You are not a million miles from the plot of The Gorge.
Yeah, so that sounds great.
Yeah. It's quite video gamey, I want to say. I can't.
I like that.
I can't like full-throatedly recommend it. I think it has its kind of issues, but it is quite video gamey. It's quite comic booky. So if you're into like genre fiction, and if the idea appeals to you, and I think it is a really neat idea. I watched it because I'm like, that is one hell of a premise. You know, they're sort of stationed on either side of this enormous crevasse, and they're not enemies, but they're not on the same side, and they're there to kind of mutually watch over this mysterious gorge.
Okay.
So it's a cool premise. It's
interesting.
Cool premise.
Yeah, that's fun. I like that.
Yeah. Okay. It was No Smile 2, which I watched not that recently, but since we last recorded the podcast. So I want to shout out Smile 2, which is brilliant. Mm-hmm. And you're a horror fan, Andy. So I
am a horror fan. Yeah.
I can fully recommend that to you. Yeah.
I've been meaning to see The Monkey, but I haven't yet.
Is it out yet?
Yeah, it's out. It's out.
Oh, I didn't realise.
Yeah.
I want to see that.
Yeah, I want to see that. I'm excited.
I mean, talk about killer premises. It's a horror film about a cymbal banging monkey. So yeah.
Well, he's a drumming monkey.
He
drums. This one drums, and then when he stops drumming, someone dies. Someone dies horribly.
Is that the premise?
Yeah, pretty much. It's like a cursed thing.
I love that. Okay.
It's like some guy, when he was a kid, he had this monkey, and whenever it went off, like someone in his family would die, so he threw it down a well. And then when he's like older, he goes and gets it out of the well for some reason. I don't know. I haven't seen it. So
what you want to do is keep it around and make sure it's constantly replenished with batteries, so no one ever dies. I imagine.
Well, it's based on a Stephen King short story, and you know
that sounds right. Yeah,
those are famously scattershot in terms of quality. This sounds good.
I'm in,
and it's the Longlegs director.
Yeah, I'm here for that.
Anthony Perkins' son. What's his name? Osgood.
Osgood
Perkins. Unrealistically, his name is Osgood Perkins. So
unforgettable. Yeah, unrealistically. Okay.
I watched the Saturday Night movie as well, the one about the sort of the 3 hours before the premiere,
right?
It's the 50th anniversary of Saturday Night Live. But there's this movie which is about the sort of the 3 hours leading up to the premiere of the first episode.
Okay.
And that's the sort of structure of it. It's like the show is falling apart, like all the actors are threatening to quit. They don't have a set.
Neat.
Willem Dafoe is like a TV executive who keeps like threatening to shut them down. It's really stressful.
I was just going to say, it sounds extremely stressful.
It is. And for some reason, they seem to like really have it in for Jim Henson. Like Jim Henson's in it because the Muppets were part of it. And he's just sort of going around going, hey, everyone's being really mean to the Muppets. They make it look like they're doing lewd things to each other. And I found this Muppet in a noose. And everyone's like, haha, brilliant. Yeah, great jokes, everyone.
Do you think that reflects the film's sentiments for Jim Henson or like the Saturday Night Live cast?
Yeah, maybe it was accurate, but it just feels like everyone's bullying Jim Henson. And he's such a nice, sweet man.
That's mean. That is
feels
mean.
bad. And also the guy who plays Jim Henson also plays Andy Kaufman, which is really odd.
Oh, that is odd.
Yeah, it's the same actor playing both roles. And I'm like,
is this
like...
second actor?
Well, I don't know. I'm like, does this mean something? Is this meaningful or is this just an odd casting decision? But yeah, it was a decent movie. I watched it on a plane, but it was a sort of perfect plane movie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Anything else you want to get off your chest before we start talking about Deadlands?
No, I like talking about Deadlands.
All right.
I do enjoy that.
Great. Let's talk about some Deadlands.
Okay.
Andy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wise Deadlands marshal, storyteller, game master, Andy Fount. Hi.
Yeah,
welcome back. I thought what would be nice as we get ready to embark upon season 2 of Deadlands, coming to a YouTube channel / podcast near
Podcatcher.
You very soon, 21st of March, correct? I thought it'd be nice to like revisit some elements of season 1.
Yeah.
Just so everyone remembers where we're at, because it has, much like with Severance, been a while.
Yeah.
And
exactly
then
like
I thought,
Severance.
and then I thought we could like roll out a few little like teaser clips from season 2, give people a taste of what's coming in the
try
first
and keep
episode.
it spoiler light.
Spoiler light, yes. You don't know what I've got queued up.
No, I don't, but I hope that you get it spoiler light.
Okay,
it's my fond hope.
We're going to listen to some clips from the finale of season 1.
Okay.
I went back and I rewatched season 1's finale just so I could remember where we left all the characters, you know, the themes that we were sort of touching on, or you were touching on, I suppose. You're the theme guy.
Yeah, but
we're
it's
just
like,
your little puppets. We're just your pawns.
We're doing another, like we did with Weirdwood. We did the Unwinding Weirdwood series on patreon.com/OX Club. I'm doing another season like that called the Deadlands Epitaph with our producer, Zach. And I was talking through like the process of like DMing. It's like you are sort of writing the scenario, but you know, you're not the only storyteller at the table. So I think it might be a Brendan Lee Mulligan quote, but it's like there are 3 storytellers at the table: the DM, the players, and the dice. So yes, it was sort of like a scenario that I set up, but a lot of like the action and stuff is player driven. So just want to acknowledge that. Yeah,
fine, good. Let's have a listen to a significant moment from season 1's finale.
They weren't just a band of outlaws. I mean, you've met them, you saw what they could do. I imagine you've come to the same conclusion yourselves.
Sure.
They're part of a much older, much more destructive group. Bellows himself was war. Daisy Ducrot, she was pestilence, of course. Judge Boudreaux was death. And Unga herself was famine. They were what you would more commonly refer to as horsemen of the apocalypse. You've done an incredible...
I knew they were behind this! I knew it! I told you!
So that was the reveal moment where it all came together. We're not just talking about a gang, a former gang. We're talking about the 4 horsemen, horse people of the apocalypse.
It's the O. Henry style twist.
Yeah, and in fact, the 5 horse people of the apocalypse.
That's right.
As it will turn out.
It's a red hand. There are 5 fingers on the hand. It was...
Did you expect us to get it before? Because I did not get it before.
Well, no, because you weren't in every episode, so you didn't see like who the other villains were that the other people were fighting.
It's very flattering that you think I would have got it otherwise. If I'd been in every episode and known what was coming, I would have seen it coming a mile off.
Yeah, well, I think a lot of viewers kind of had an inkling just because of how themed like the bosses were. But they also had sort of names that like related to their position in the horse people of the apocalypse.
One's literally called Hunger.
One's called Hunger. Yeah, that was the last one.
That
so
was
the
you
most
just
obvious.
sort of like, what the hell, throw it away.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're the way it's sort of split up, it does make it easier to conceal things from the players because they don't see everything. So, for example, you were in the one with War and the one with which one were you in?
I was in the one with the hanging judge.
That's right. So you were in the one with War and the one with Death, but you didn't see famine.
No.
And you didn't see pestilence. So
No.
it would have been harder to sort of make the connection as a player. Whereas like a lot of the comments were like, oh yeah, these are obviously going to be the Horsemen of the Apocalypse. But I like to think that they maybe didn't guess that there was going to be a fifth Horseperson of the Apocalypse, and that's what Victoria's deal was.
The twist on a twist.
A twist on a twist. Yeah.
In fact, we've got a clip on that very issue right now.
Lord knows we failed in our mission. It's time for some new blood. What do you say? We have the new 5 horsemen right here. Nate, you came back from death. You mastered death. You are death, Nate.
Sure.
Silas, you have the unlimited martial rage of war.
I do.
Garnet, there's a hunger in you for something else, something bigger. You could be famine. Edie, your past loss has infected you like a disease. The pestilence. And DeLacy, you've defeated so many and yet still so young. Conquest, you would take on my power. You would become Conquest, the horseman of the apocalypse.
So that's the twist on the twist. Victoria's the 5th horseman.
Yeah, which is like that sort of fell into my lap, the fact that Victoria is Latin for conquest. I was like, oh, that's really nice.
I didn't know. I mean, it makes sense. Like Victor, right? Victory, Victoria.
Yeah, add Victoria to victory to conquest, you know.
Yeah.
That just felt like sort of serendipity, because originally when I was coming up with this, the character was called something else. I can't remember. But I was like, this is great. I can sort of... I can put that in, and it's another little bit of foreshadowing and stuff that people, if they watch it through again, you know, they'll notice and stuff. But yeah, I really wanted because the idea of like a quest giver turning evil is like a really well-trodden trope, and I didn't want her to be evil. I wanted her to be just have a completely different concept of like morality and what good is, and she's created for this purpose, and so, you know, her entire reason for being is to kind of carry out this apocalypse that her and her friends were made for. And then when they got to Earth to carry it out, you know, they all went off and did their own thing. They sort of used their power to sort of enrich themselves, and from her perspective, it's like they've really betrayed everything they were created for. And she's like, I'm the only one who stayed true to our purpose. And then these people come along who offer to help her. And I think the emotion I wanted to get through from Victoria in the finale was like betrayal, because she thought you were all on her side. And she is just, very upset and sad that these people who she thought were her friends are now refusing to go through with it, just like the last group that she was with. So trying to make a sort of tragic figure rather than an evil figure.
She's got a lot of integrity, a lot of commitment. Yeah,
absolutely. That's hopefully what I was getting across with the finale. But yeah, I think it's she's a really interesting character. I'm glad that she didn't get killed at the end.
Okay. What if they'd said yes, I guess is my question. What if what if we'd said yes?
I mean, I didn't expect you to, because, you know, I know you all as players, but if you had, I mean, I would have let you. And then I guess season 2 would have been about you kind of going around about it. Like, I would have said, okay, you know, you take up the mantle, and now you know, I'm going to give you all new character sheets as these horsemen of the apocalypse. Season 2, you're going to start to carry out the apocalypse.
You're going to do an apocalypse. Deadlands season 2.
People are going to try and stop you, I guess, because, you know, people don't want that.
Wow.
So it would have been a real pivot. But
sure.
If that's what you wanted to do, then I would have absolutely...
I don't think we had a character in the party who was... I don't think we had a single character in the party who was that way inclined naturally. Do you know what I mean? I think that makes sense. I mean, Prudence, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, for sure. But
this cast of characters, these wild cards, these heroes, nah.
Yeah.
They're essentially good guys.
That's what I think, you can sort of, once you've played with people for a long time, you know how they think in terms of these sorts of decisions. And I was like, they're probably not going to take it, but if they do, we'll see where it goes, because that's tabletop role-playing games, baby.
Right, another quote here, another clip. This is the beginning of the sort of trials, like the individual trials given to each character after they turn down their chance at being a horseman, right? So let's listen to Silas's turn.
I'd like to introduce you to my business associates. I point to the two guns. This is Justice. This is more Justice.
Oh, it's a pleasure to meet them. This is a gun.
I can see that.
Okay, and it's now 1 minute to noon.
Okay.
I think he's going to try and shake you.
Interesting. Okay.
I already killed one of your friends, and now I'm going to kill you.
Okay.
So I want you to make a spirit roll.
Fine.
It's going to be opposed.
That is a 6 and a 3. Roll 6 again. And a 4.
Okay, yep, you've beaten the spirit roll, so...
I don't have any friends.
Hey.
Yes, I wanted the final boss fight, rather than just like everyone stands around a room and shoots each other. I wanted to sort of give each character like a little vignette that sort of highlighted what they'd done this season, and any arcs they'd been on and how they'd changed, or anything in their backstory that I thought was interesting to highlight. So that's the reason why the boss fight is split up into these little one-on-one moments, because I wanted to give everyone a chance to do something interesting and tailored to their character.
I think it's a good choice to have Benjamin Bellows up first, because for my money, he's the creepiest voice of the season. And also for my money, kind of the most memorable villain, not least because he is Nate's killer. Right? He's
for sure.
actually killed one of us. So
yeah, I think
strong choice.
A big thing of what I wanted in Deadlands was like a rogues gallery of like memorable villains. And I think like the villains in season 1 were, decent, but some of them I feel like perhaps a little undercooked, or you didn't spend enough time with them to get to sort of really know them and really hate them. And that's definitely not a problem in season 2. I will say I'm really pleased with the villains in season 2, and I think people are going to really like them. But yeah, Ben Bellows is probably my favorite out of the ones from season 1. He's just so unsettling,
such a good
so
voice.
Calm.
That's the Walton Goggins off of Justified inspired voice, am I right?
It's a sort of Walton Goggins, Richard Brake. You see this sort of character in westerns, the kind of like lugubrious, unbothered villain, which I really like.
Yeah, kind of lightly unhinged.
Lightly unhinged.
Devil may
and
care. Yeah.
Just feels dangerous. Doesn't have to do anything, just feels dangerous.
Yeah. I don't believe you've started watching White Lotus season 3 yet, but it's got your good Goggins action in there. So.
I do like some Goggins action.
You've got to watch some Goggins.
Love some, but I'm watching The Righteous Gemstones, which is very different Goggins action.
Yeah,
but still excellent.
White Lotus season 3 is like a holiday in Thailand with Walton Goggins. So
I've been reading my dream journal.
Okay, next up in the sort of series of vignette boss fights is my girl Garnet. Let's have a listen.
Garnet, you suddenly feel the force that was holding you in place seems to release, but in its place you feel a kind of hollow emptiness, a yawning hunger inside you. The exact opposite of the feeling you had earlier, in fact. And
did you have a big lunch?
your PowerPoints have actually all drained away, leaving a gnawing hunger inside you.
No. 0 PowerPoints.
Victoria
Grim.
looks at you and she says, "Let's see how you do without your tricks, Garnet."
Why?
You hear a soft moaning sound coming from across the room, and moving towards you is a humanoid figure. It's sort of pale. It's got a shuffling gait as it moves towards you. Its skin is kind of corpse grey, and this is a ghoul, and it's moving towards you. And Looks ready. Looks ready for lunch.
My question,
Yes.
having rewatched that boss fight, is well, it's not really a boss fight. It's a ghoul, right? It's a fight.
Yes.
My question is, when
Mini-boss.
is Garnet going to remember that she has a mystical corpse hand?
Again, like,
I feel like you were teeing that up. You were like, if we were playing volleyball, you would have kind of like bonk, and you were waiting for me to like spike
it back.
and I whiffed it.
No, I don't think. No, you didn't. It's not your fault. I think I was probably unclear. This I would like to clarify again that Deadlands Season 1 was my first time ever DMing anything, and so I'm very much like learning things as I go. And what in my mind how this was going to go was I'd given Garnet this like obviously cursed artifact.
Wait, what's it called again? It's the. Do you remember off the top of your head?
Waitley's Unholy Icon.
That's
it's
it.
called.
Yes. It is
Which
an
is a-
official Deadlands artifact.
It's basically a monkey's paw, right? And you can use it to refill your power points, but like one of the fingers will curl inwards, and the implication is there'll be some sort of debt to pay later after using it. And I was like, okay, I think it's kind of interesting if you're making a parallel between Garnet and Famine. You're like, she's hungry for something. She feels like there's a sort of yawning chasm in her, which she fills with this supernatural power of the huckster, right? And it's like, if that's taken away from her and she doesn't have that, she has that sort of space in her, is she willing to sort of sacrifice something to get it back? Is she willing to make this sort of unholy pact to get her power back? Because it's like, this thing is probably bad news, but it will give me the power that I'm craving. And I was thinking like that might be a sort of interesting character moment, you know, whether she does that or not. If she decides that actually, no, you know, I can do this without my huckster powers, I'm strong without it.
Yeah.
Or if she's like, no, I need those powers. That's what makes me me.
I'll be honest, I was panicking a bit. I think doing that, there's a moment for that kind of deep character stuff, and there's a moment for like your immediate reaction. And my immediate reaction was like, can I kite this ghoul around a table like I'm in a video game? Can I get enough distance on it? And do I have enough like ground speed to just kind of infinitely kite it around a table and not get hurt?
Yes.
But
and I think that's a really
point.
important learning as a DM. Is that you can come up with great scenarios all you want in your head, but if you're like, if it's not clear to your players what's going on, then, you know, it's not a good scenario. So that, again, that's a good learning for me.
I think it's a really interesting area to explore. I also think it would maybe require like a slower moment to kind of reflect on that. Like,
Yes,
who am I
for sure.
without PowerPoints? Who am I without being a huckster? Is it a crutch? Is it an identity that I've like hidden myself behind, etc.? But yeah, I
think it was too complicated a concept to sort of get across in a quite a frantic boss fight. So so I apologize if you felt you were sidelined.
No. It
in
doesn't
the-
require an apology. But I think having watched the episode back, I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god.
But no, it's a
There's
teachable,
a
it's a
goal.
teachable moment, and it's something that I don't think I do anything similar to in season 2. So obviously, I've learned from this.
All right. On to Nate's turn. Harrowed Nate by
It's
this
Nate
point.
and DeLacy.
Yes, it's
Right.
a twofer. So let's listen.
Nate, you're going to attack DeLacy.
Yep. Okay.
So
What does this look like to me? Does it look just like Nate is doing it, or can I like sense that something is like?
well, Nate,
happening to Nate,
how do you
or-
think Nate would approach?
I think
do this.
Nate kind of goes from sort of like doddering old man, being like looking around to suddenly like being distracted, and then I think it would like be like a physical effort, like he's trying to hold himself back, but he's effectively just like turning towards you, sort of like Terminator style. And it's just like
Ooh.
and
okay.
starts to draw.
Yeah. So DeLacy, make me a fear check. Nate, what's your Dominion level?
My Dominion level is 7 now, down from 8.
Okay, cool. You are going to lose a point of Dominion every round that this goes on.
Oh!
Remind me fear checks. Sorry.
If you roll a spirit roll,
Oh, spirit. Cool. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh dang! My soul
Your soul.
is being drained away.
So I find the concept of Harrowed in Deadlands really interesting. The fact that you sort of share your soul with this demon, and every time you want to sort of access, it's similar to what we were talking about with Garnet. Every time you want to access some of its power, you have to sort of surrender a little part of yourself, which is so interesting. And then to sort of take that and then take like relationships between the characters that have built up over the first season and then weaponize that. So you turn Nate into a puppet who's attacking DeLacy. It's like, will Nate go through with it? Will DeLacy fight back? And again, like, I didn't know how the characters would react to that. I was kind of interested to see. And then you have DeLacy sort of sit down. He won't fight back, which is really, really interesting from Luke. And then Nate takes the gun and puts it to his own head. And you're like, okay, wow, this is really cool. And like, these character dynamics are so strong after just like 10 episodes. I really liked this segment. I thought it was like very, very cool from Luke and Johnny.
Very cool. I think emergent MVPs of the episode, potentially, I want to say. Not playing favourites. But there's also a theme of like manipulation and, I want to say a theme of manipulation and being forced to do things against your will.
Yeah.
Which flows nicely into the Edie confrontation. Let's have a listen.
I'm not scared anymore.
Okay. Roll me damage.
Okay, so that is 2d8. Can I borrow a d8? -1. 6 and a 5, so it's 11.
11 damage.
No, -1, sorry, 10.
10 damage. Garnet, what's your toughness?
Me? None of your business. 5.
5. Okay, so it's a success with the raise. So, what this thing that looks like a monster to you? You empty the mare's leg into it. Back in the room, Garnet, you see Edie raise her rifle to you, and she fires, and the bullet slams into your chest, and you are shaken, and you take a wound.
And that's how I get shot in the chest. That's how Garnet gets shot in the chest in the finale.
Yeah.
Not off of the bad guy or the villain or the big boss, but Edie, shoots.
I feel like you got a really raw deal in this boss fight.
Yeah, it is. No, it's good. It's good. I like it. I think as part of my like character fantasy, I think being badly wounded in the finale is actually pretty dope. So it's cool. But yeah, I think this lined up best with the sort of themes that were going on in the fight, and the parallels between all of the horsemen, with like Edie's past loss sort of infecting her like a pestilence, and the idea that it's not just something that's affected her in the past, it's something that's affecting her right now, this kind of like mistrust of people, and like a hatred of monsters, and a sort of drive to get justice that it sort of can end up harming the people around her. So but in this instance, it becomes a sort of very literal manifestation of that, in that she is literally harming her friends with weapons, as opposed to like blocking people out, or, turning within herself, or sending people away. So it's like a kind of very literal manifestation of that, which, it came off really well. I don't think, I know, in fact, that Garnet and Edie didn't have a sort of session together in Deadlands season 1. That's going to change in Deadlands season 2, so look forward to that. But
we have our first ever all-female players.
Table of players.
We have a guest as well for that episode, so it's
coming up this season.
Very exciting.
But I was going to say, I didn't have a sense, having not played as much with Edie, with Ellen, of how she'd been like poisoned by grief, which I think is a really interesting sort of character element.
Yeah, it's like presenting grief as a sort of like progressive disease. It's not something that you just sort of deal with and it goes away. It's something that lingers and slowly extends its tendrils throughout you until it's like it's all you are by the end.
That's
I know.
sad.
Isn't it?
Real.
Yeah, isn't it thematically interesting?
Yeah, it is. God, it's so thematic and interesting.
All right, I have a penultimate clip here from the season 1 finale, and this is the end of Victoria, aka Conquest herself.
Yeah, the ring shatters. The horse like just vanishes from underneath her.
Oh my god!
And she goes like basically flying, lands on her back. All the rings fall from her fingers and clatter to the floor.
Okay.
She's sort of scrabbling around, trying to pick them up. She's like, no! Trying to put them back on, but they're ruined. I think we can safely take you all out of combat at this point.
I would still like to get in front of DeLacy and kind of have a hand across his
Oh,
torso, just to be like,
wow, that was a
Just in
good
case.
read. I was literally about to say, I'd like to walk up and shoot her in the head.
Hey! Same idea!
I think, in retrospect, it's really neat that Nate completely intuited that DeLacy was thinking of going Victoria. Because at the table, I didn't think it was obvious. But here's Johnny out of nowhere with that intuition, because Luke, as DeLacy, was like, yeah, I was going to do that. I was definitely going to do that. And I think it would have set a different tone if our child character had executed this defeated
that would have
woman.
been dark.
It would have been dark.
Really
Yeah.
dark. But yeah, I guess, that's what Luke felt the character was feeling in the moment.
100%. And I think that's authentic. I mean, not to flatter ourselves, but I think that makes sense. And I also think it makes sense that Edie still wants to do that because, Edie is still powered by grief and powered by having been manipulated, having her dead brother's image used against her to hurt her friends. I think that's a pretty solid reason to have an emotional reaction.
Yeah, well, you've got to remember that Victoria's having an emotional reaction as well to being betrayed by who she thought were her friends.
I did feel sorry for her. But in the boss fight itself, where she conjures a horse underneath her, that was so Elden Ring for a boss to conjure a gigantic mount that kind of ups the difficulty level of the boss fight.
Yeah,
and then the mount has an extra face, or she tears the mount's head off and mounts it on her shoulders or something.
It's a shame because I had a lot more stuff planned for her to do in the boss fight. But
yeah, that'll chestnut.
Nate let the devil out, which adds so many dice to all of Nate's rolls. And I couldn't, in good conscience, say that she hadn't been killed by 16,000 points of damage or whatever it was that Nate ended up doing.
And that is also the point of letting the devil out, isn't it? It's not just your damage times 1.5. It's meant to be a substantial difference.
Yes, with a substantial penalty, which
speaking of,
which I really wanted to make. I really wanted to follow up on that. Let's say
there has to be a cost.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I love the idea of mounted bosses generally, in video games and stuff. When someone comes at you on a horse, you're like, wow, this is serious. But yeah, all this different stuff planned. But yeah, she got dealt with pretty quickly. But that's I'm glad that I had all the sort of previous stuff there as well with the individual vignettes. So it's a multi-stage thing. So it doesn't matter if one of them's a little underwhelming, perhaps.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't look at it like that. Like you say, I think it gives some very juicy elements for season 2 that Nate has called on something so dangerous and costly.
Yeah, you had to be destroying the rings as well, which is, it's a little wrinkle.
Yeah,
it's kind of fun.
Shout out to Johnny for at one point. I don't think we just listened to it, but Johnny says, "But they were all of them deceived" or something.
Just doing Lord of the Rings quotes.
Just sneaking Lord of the Rings into your table, your game,
outrageous.
Under your nose.
There have to be consequences.
So I think Johnny's going to be paying for that. They're going to be paying for that the next season. It's less for letting the devil out and more for having snuck a
the
Lord
temerity
of the Rings quote in there.
Talking up my table.
Yeah. Okay. And finally, final quote from season 1, Deadlands. Now, I just put this in because I liked it. I'd like to stomp the tumbleweed as I go by.
Yes, give it.
Just smash it up.
Give me athletics check to see
Okay.
how
Nothing
stomp
easier.
this tumbleweed.
All right. I imagine it's like a big sphere of autumn leaves. I've never stomped a tumbleweed before.
Yeah, it's more sort of thick bracken.
Oh, like an ensnaring bracken.
Yeah, spiky and pointy.
You may end up with it attached to you for the rest of the
Oh,
thing.
well. Oh, wait, sorry, I need a...
Yeah, you got to roll 2 dice.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's a 6. So
On a 6.
You
it's
roll
a
it
6
again.
on a 6.
Keep going.
East.
And then a 5 on the 6. So that's an 11, so that's 2 successes.
Cool.
Right?
Okay, yeah, so you
Kick it apart.
you punt it and it just goes flying into the sky.
Okay,
And
good.
like Team Rocket, it just
Safe and sorry.
yeah. Tumbleweed is gone. You really killed that tumbleweed.
First success of the game. Love
You
it.
know, I don't know enough Deadlands to know that there isn't a cursed Tumbleweed.
There is one. It's called Tumbleweed.
Well, there we go.
Tumbleweed.
It's like a vampire.
All right, you're welcome, everybody. I could have just saved us from a vampire tumbleweed, for all we know.
All right.
Was it a tumbleweed?
No, it's just some.
Just a note on tumbleweeds. I looked them
Yes.
up. They're really nasty.
Oh yeah, they're horrible.
Really. Let me just hang on. Let me just read from a site on tumbleweeds. Okay, it's an intelligent carnivorous plant that imitates a form of harmless dead vegetation. They move about virtually silently and often go unnoticed due to their similarity to tumbleweeds. They often lurk in clumps of vegetation, then tumble out to attack when their prey is sleeping or otherwise off guard. Travellers tell stories of waking up to find tumbling mounds feeding off their companions.
Yeah, gross.
That's so creepy.
So
the idea
horrible.
that you'd be like camping around, like under the stars, around a campfire, you wake up and someone's head is just encased in like a tumbleweed.
Thorny vines, yeah.
And it's just feeding. That really gets me. And I didn't know that was a thing before Johnny like highlighted it. I thought it pays to be suspicious when you're in the Deadlands. Yeah.
No, I mean, there's so many horrible little things in the Deadlands monster manual. There are things called corn huskers, which are like little ears of corn that attack you. There are like scarecrows that climb down off their poles, and there's all sorts of stuff. I took some of. I'm not going to say any more because there are like a bunch of my favorites make it into season 2.
Right.
So yeah.
Okay. Keep an eye out.
It's horrible stuff.
Yeah. But when Tumbleweed,
Well, I mean, maybe.
one day.
Keep an eye out. Never trust
eye
a tumbleweed.
Right. So that brings us to the end of like season 1's finale. We've revisited the characters. We know where they are. And next week on the podcast and on youtube.com/Oxventure, we're going to be watching season 2, episode 1.
Yeah.
Which is going to be a full cast session of Deadlands. We're back with all the characters and we have a few clips to kind of set it up. So this
if you don't want any spoilers whatsoever,
Oh, yeah.
this is the point to stop listening. But there's going to be some sort of nothing too spoilery, but just some clips from season 2, episode 1. So if you want to go in completely spoiler free,
I will say
stop listening.
that I handpicked these bits and I try to put myself in the place of like someone who wants to watch or listen to this. I think it's all like acceptable trailer moments. You know, if I saw this in a trailer, I would be like, cool, fair enough. They didn't show me too much. So your mileage may vary. But anyway, let's listen to a reappearance from an old friend.
Well, the next room that you walk into is set up for one specific exhibit. It has a sort of a pedestal. There's a little velvet rope and some gold bollards in front of it that have been knocked over because standing in front of that, well, it's apparent the museum has gone to some lengths to restore the Sasquatch, but clearly they weren't able to find skilled taxidermists this time. For it's a lot more spherical than it was previously.
Overstuffed.
It has an expression that would seem goofy if it weren't snarling in rage.
Is it like that walrus that they overstuffed in the
Similar to that sort of vibe.
They just kept packing it until it wasn't wrinkly anymore.
Yeah, this Sasquatch has been poorly taxidermied, but it is alive. Perhaps keeping it in close proximity to so many cursed items was a bad idea.
So as we join the characters in season 2, they've taken the money that they got from Victoria and they've used it to set up a monster hunting agency. And so to kick off season 2, I really wanted to start it in the middle of the action, basically, just so it's like something to immediately grab you in media res. So we start and the characters are on a monster hunt. I imagine them like, the Ghostbusters. They get called in by people who are like, there's a Bigfoot rampaging around our museum. You have to come and take care of them. And then, that's where we join them.
Yeah.
It's a cool
It's the
cool
Sasquatch.
idea. Yeah, same one from episode 1 of the first season, only it's been taxidermied like, when they used to taxidermy animals and they didn't know what they originally looked like, so they just filled them with sawdust until they were a sort of a ball.
Yeah, like the walrus. Is it a walrus sea lion at the Horniman Museum in London?
Yeah.
The people who stuffed it, they were sent the skin and they'd never seen a walrus in real life, so they just kept on stuffing it until they were like, it can't possibly be this wrinkly. Just keep on pouring sand in there until it's inflated like a balloon.
I love that kind of bad Victorian taxidermy, and I'm imagining, someone has not done a good job on this Sasquatch. He's just a big spherical
poor Sasquatch
who has been sort of unwillingly brought back to life and is now
having
mad.
a rough time of it. This guy
is mad again. Yeah,
I would be too. Okay, next up in the highlights teasers from season 2, episode 1. There's a new monster.
Let's have a look.
Smooth.
Yeah. We, the parishioners of Bisley, wish to ask a great favor of you. In recent weeks, our livestock have been terrorized by a creature we have come to know as the Beast of Bisley Bayou. It comes out of the swamps and it rips and tears its way through our livestock, leaving them dead and maimed. Sure, 'tis some monster, as the torsos are rent with claw marks and the necks have been bitten. We're all worried, and us or our children will be next. Enclosed is what little money we have. Please help us.
So this is your first, apart from the Sasquatch, this is like your first major monster hunt of the season. This Beast of Bisley Bayou, which has been sort of terrorizing livestock in the town just over from where you folks have set up, which is, obviously a pretty basic structure. Give you something to fight and go off and do it. But also, fight this beast. But also we get to do some cool bayou stuff. Like I know you've been to New Orleans and the bayous of Louisiana.
Yeah, I went on the sort of bayou tour.
Bayou
some
tour.
Feral pigs and some raccoons and
some feral hogs.
Some very small gators because it was winter, and all the big gators in winter, they're on the bottom. They're just sleeping on the bottom,
just hanging out down there.
Yeah,
There's snakes and Spanish moss, and it's very kind of an evocative
atmos.
Atmos. So I wanted to do a bit of a bayou thing in this one.
Very nice.
But as we can hear in the next clip, from a new character, Beacon Joe.
Okay, we're out of here. How's everyone doing today?
Real good, Beacon.
Good.
No, I said everybody. This guy here didn't answer. So how's everybody doing here today?
Yes.
Please, this boat's finally steering straight. Fix it up good, I reckon.
Well, great. My name's Beacon Joe, and I'll be your skipper today on the world-famous Bayou Tour. I could also be your alligator wrestling swimming instructor if you're not careful, so please be careful.
A new friend there.
Yeah, well,
in the shape of Beacon Joe.
You can probably imagine how the party reacts to this. They're not a fan, but
which I think is hurtful for you because I know how much you love all that stuff, the sort of Jungle Cruise vibes.
Yeah. It's. I think I knew that everyone would hate him, and he's sort of deliberately designed to be an annoying character.
Yes.
But I love the idea of him trying to give his normal kind of tourist tour when they're out to find this kind of giant monster alligator. So I really like Beacon Joe. He's really fun to play, but and I really enjoy how much everyone hates it as well. And maybe that's not fun for you as the players. It's fun for me as the DM, I can tell you.
He's cute. I think he's a sweet man who's he's got one mode and he's in that mode, He
just slips into his old patter and everyone's like, will you shut the hell up?
He's not a monster hunter. He's like a swamp tour guy.
Yeah. I mean, I love the Jungle Cruise at Disneyland. And I know a lot of people don't. I did the Jungle Cruise at Disneyland, Tokyo Disneyland, and it's quite a different experience.
Oh yeah.
When the entire thing is in Japanese and you don't speak Japanese.
Yes.
It was like absolutely chucking it down with rain. It was quite a surreal experience. Just a man screaming in Japanese while like this apocalyptic rainstorm happened.
Wow.
That's the Jungle Cruise experience for me. I can tell you.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, and last of all, we've got something from our friend Nate.
It's possible when we were fighting against Victoria, I got somewhat carried away, putting my mortal soul in danger, and apparently now all of you. it is possible that the most expedient way to deal with this would be if one of you were to shoot me in the head. Now.
Well, we're not going to do that.
Oh. May I?
Nope.
So obviously the stakes in season 1 were kind of pretty big, right? It's like world-ending apocalypse kind of on the line and stuff. And the question when you're coming out with a season 2 is like, where do you go from there? You can't really go up. I mean, you could, but it's like you risk sort of retreading ground and stuff like that. And it's like, well, who are you going after now? Like God? What are you trying to kill God?
It's
and
the
then
old
it's like
Avengers problem, the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Right,
jeopardy.
exactly. It starts to get a bit ridiculous. So I really wanted the stakes to be like more personal in season 2. I wanted to like bring it down and focus it more on the party. And the idea that like Nate let the devil out in season 1, I wanted there to be consequences for that. So those sort of two ideas came together. And now, without giving too much away, like the driving plot of season 2 is this sort of battle for Nate's soul, really, which, you know, is a lot more personal to the party. It's obviously a lot more personal to Nate. And it's like, I knew as well if I had like a quest giver sort of telling you where to go and what to do, no one would trust them because of what happened in season 1. So it's like, well, I can't do that as well. So it's like all the sort of driving motivation is coming from the party themselves this time, to sort of get around that. And we're going to go after this first episode into that sort of episodic structure like we had in season 1 with, you know, looking for objects and fighting villains and stuff. But it's a sort of nice way to get to it that doesn't retread what we did in season 1, hopefully.
Love that. Can't wait. I mean, I know what's going to happen in the sessions I'm in.
Yeah, well, and also overall across the season, because we have finished filming it.
We have finished filming it all together. Doesn't feel like it was that long ago, actually.
No, I think it came out pretty well.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I think people are going to enjoy it.
I also do think that it is a high old time, and dare I say it, better than season 1. So.
I think so. Yeah, like I said, it was my first ever time DMing, and I think it taught me a lot, and I've taken all of that into season 2. So hopefully you'll see some improvement there as well. Listener,
at the same time,
viewer.
don't do yourself down. If you care to watch season 1, I guess you could binge season 1 here on the podcast or
That's right.
at youtube.com/Oxventure. It's all there. So
and I am, don't get me wrong, I am very proud of season 1. I think it was really good, but I think season 2, dare I say it, even better.
And with thanks to producer Zach and John and James, we look better than ever.
Yeah, I mean, it looks great as well. So yeah, if you're listening to this on the podcast rather than watching it, I would recommend checking out the videos. With the lighting setup is beautiful. We had to get whole new lights because everyone's wearing cowboy hats and it was throwing shadow, and the producers were like, could you perhaps take off the cowboy hats? And we said, absolutely not. That's never going to happen.
And he said, absolutely not. Over my dead body, will you take my cowboy hat?
And they said, fine, we'll get some new lights then. And I said, yes, I think you better.
There's some great lighting. There's some like dynamic lighting, some kind of like spooky, spooky special effect lighting. I love it all. I love it all so much.
I've been going through music libraries, finding like really good music for all of it. There's some beautiful sound effects. There's some horrible sound effects. So yeah, I would absolutely recommend it.
Okay, that's season 2 of Deadlands, Oxventure Deadlands, starting on the 21st of March. Day and date. Going to premiere on the Oxventure podcast here, wherever you're listening to it, or here on youtube.com/Oxventure if you're watching the video version of the podcast there.
It'll be premiering 8 p.m. UK time on Friday nights. There'll be the chat to hang out in and chat in as the episode goes on. We'll be in there talking away as well. So it'd be cool if you could come and hang out with us.
I've got so many little like social behind the scenes clips that I shot when we were recording, and they've just been sat on my phone for weeks and months in some cases. And I've been desperate to post them, but I didn't want to like go too soon. I didn't want to spoil anything. So
yeah, we're in it now.
I've been doing like little fan edits, like a sort of Tumblr fan edit, but of like my own tabletop
of your
sessions.
own character.
Yeah. And I'm like, Andy, what music should I use? Because you can use music on.
We've got new character art as well. You're going to miss out on if you don't check out the YouTube version.
Yeah.
We've got character art for the villains this time, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah, we do have that.
By long-time Oxventure artist Colin Craker.
Quite visual.
Who has done an outstanding job. So yeah, I'm just really excited to get it out there now because we started recording at the end of last year. So
yeah, it's been a while. Obviously, Christmas period, like December's quite disruptive. Also, there's just a lot of disruption generally. It's hard to get people together when they have jobs and other things to do.
And also sick all the time because it's the winter.
I can't. Yeah. I cannot stand it, Andy. Like, there's just too many germs going around. I don't want to bring it down now, but like, there's just too much going around. Like,
yeah. Well, hopefully, we're about to start filming season 2 of Weirdwood as well, so that's coming.
Should we just all enter a sort of like mutual bubble for like
just a literal zorb?
Yeah, like just put us in like a dome, and then we can't catch anything except off each other.
Yeah,
and then we'll just play
do you think that's
D&D
what Dimension 20's dome is for?
It's like a quarantine dome.
Yeah, there's like an airlock, and people have to wear like hazmat suits to come in and talk to them.
If you're going to be that like prolific, it might be.
Might well be. Yeah.
Do you remember during the pandemic where to keep the basketball going, the NBA all sort of lived together?
Oh, yeah. They all went and lived at LeBron James's house.
They all kind of like lived together in a sort of NBA village so they could carry on playing basketball.
Yeah, I do remember that. That was weird.
Yeah, so maybe that's our D&D village. Then we can get through Weirdwood without disruption.
Without any disruption. Yeah, but I'm looking forward to getting back to that. And as soon as we finish recording this podcast, I'm going to the Bloomsbury Theatre to check out where we're going to be doing our live show in April.
Wow. Yeah, so the live show's coming up in April. Yeah. Do you know what? I had something I wanted to show you. Where is it? Oh, no. Oh, I haven't got it to hand now. That's a bummer. I have got some gold star freckles for my Weirdwood character.
Oh, sick.
Because in my mind, she's an Asimar, but like a very low-key Asimar. But I wrote somewhere in my bio that she's got kind of like little like celestial freckles, like little gold star freckles. And I found some, and I can't wait to put them on, but they're not actually on my desk anymore. So hopefully I haven't lost them already.
That sounds very cool.
But yeah, I'm upgrading the
nice.
Look. Yeah.
My Weirdwood costume is literally 2 things. It's a shirt and a wig. So,
lucky.
I know. Okay. And by design. It's so easy to carry around. I love it.
Yeah. You were giving yourself a break from all the pirate get-up. With
Corazon's boots alone. So elaborate.
Yeah. Okay, so thanks for watching or listening or both, whichever.
Or both. Yeah.
We appreciate you being here. This has been the Oxventure D&D podcast. And we're looking forward to Deadlands Season 2 coming up next week.
Yeah, very excited. So I'll be in the chat nervously saying, "Are you enjoying it? Are you enjoying it?" to everyone. So,
is this good? Do you
is
like
this good?
it?
Is it good? How's it going?
Approve?
Yeah.
So check out that in the chat if you watch it live in the premiere. Yeah.
Man, some of my favourite episodes ever coming up in this season. So many fun scenarios. So yeah, just can't wait for you all to see it.
Please enjoy.